BowTie Barbecue Company at 6724 Waters Avenue in Savannah serves up barbecue both familiar and new, made by hand and made with love. Family friendly and relaxed, BowTie takes great pride in the by hand preparation of high quality beef ribs, smoked chicken, pork spare ribs, and more. Come join the BowTie family. Ask about our food truck and catering too. BowTie Barbecue Company, Southern charm naturally. Look for them online at BowTieBarbecueCO.com.
This is the Danny Britt Show live here from BowTie Barbecue in beautiful Savannah, Georgia. Christian Gokel sitting next to the head football coach for your cadets, Danny Britt. And Coach, before we get to the breakdown of the Burt game, I just want to say you learn who the ride or dies are by the groups who still come out to the coaches show during the bye week. So shout out to the gentleman to our left because, hey, it takes commitment and execution and effort to get here at noon on a Thursday, especially before no game tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. Certainly appreciate them coming out, and they're always here. But it is what a beautiful day.
Perfect.
The weather is perfect, absolutely perfect. Sit out here and eat some barbecue.
That's it. And again, Coach, a little bit more fun sitting here talking about a win against Burt County. You guys get the 41-0 shutout up there in Waynesboro, and a game where even at the beginning, it felt a little sluggish. And so before we talk about the game itself, the team, I know there's a lot of expectations just putting on that uniform for these guys. But when you have so many outstanding players, guys who have had the offers come in from those Division I schools and guys who that's going to be their future, feels like maybe those guys could put even a little bit more pressure on themselves. How do you kind of manage that with those guys? Because you set a standard for BC and the standard's winning for you guys, but with the added pressure those guys put on themselves, how do you kind of help them manage that?
Yeah, that's an interesting point is, that's something you have to kind of individually do across the board because every kid's different, Some kids you don't really have to push very hard because they are so hard on themselves.
Right.
One of them being Stephen Cannon. I did yell at him the other day, though, and I forgot what I was actually yelling about. But, I think I said it in the post game. I said, you're not made of glass, freaking run the ball.
Right.
And he did. And, but, some kids are like that, and other kids, you have to stay on and push. So there's not a direct answer to that, but it is something we do realize that, the pressure, I think, if you'll just worry about doing things right, not always, you can do everything perfectly right and throw an interception. Guy makes an incredible play. It's a beautiful ball. Like it was something you should have done. Or, you can, do everything right and still score a touchdown, whatever the case may be. As long as you're doing the things the way you're supposed to do it and doing it right, let the winning or losing or success or not success take care of itself.
I'm not going to say which college football team from this past weekend, but as long as you're doing it with effort, too, is a big point. And so coming out to start the game against Burke, again, we have the privilege every week of sitting next to Coach DePhillips, and so we can kind of tell the temperature of the coaching staff based on his reaction a lot of times. And the first quarter, I would say, was not up to par, but I think you could kind of stretch that out to the first half where just execution and mentally being in it just didn't feel like it was there.
Offensively, we were struggling, and just it was execution. It wasn't effort. It wasn't effort. It wasn't like I didn't, look in anybody's eyes and think they didn't want to be there or anything. It was nothing like that. It just wasn't. It was choppy.
Yeah,
I don't know another way to say it. It was choppy. It was slow. It wasn't what we normally do. Coach DePhillips made sure and say that to them very loudly at halftime.
Colorful.
It was colorful, and we came out and cleaned that up and, exploded in the third quarter. Some of that's kind of to be expected. You just ran a gauntlet of teams, and we took a butt whooping from Buford, and you didn't get back on the bus, and you travel back 2.5 hours to play a game. Some of it you can kind of understand. Again, it wasn't effort or it wasn't attitude. It was just slow. And we put some of that on Steven, like saying, hey, you've got to manage this pace a little better. But it was kind of across the board. Third quarter came out, exploded, and it ended like it did.
Absolutely. Kind of a weird situation, like you said, where you're coming off of two incredibly difficult 6A opponents, and all of a sudden you're playing a 2A opponent. You don't want them to, but I'm sure kids they look at max preps, they see what the other team has and who they've gone up against. So I don't want to say letting the foot off the gas, be like, cool, it's not Buford
Right.
that we're coming up against this weekend. But at the same time, very talented Burke County team, a team that's going to win a lot of games, was 2-0 coming into this one and was averaging 45 points a game.
Definitely.
Yeah, coming into this game. So it's one of those things where maybe coming in with the foot off the gas a little bit, but also like maybe a little bit of an exhale where you're like, okay, this isn't Buford, but again, team that doesn't like playing BC in the terms of, hey, we don't like to lose, and it's kind of been one-sided the last few years. But once you got the pedal on the metal, like you said, end up scoring 41 points in the football game, but maybe more impressively, a 0 on the other side. And mentally, again, kids kind of know quarterback was not starting for Burke County, but for them to come out, execute, and put a 0 up on the scoreboard, that's got to be big on the defensive side of the ball.
I thought so. I thought defensively played well, played really hard. Yes, their quarterback was down. It would have been a tougher case if he'd have been playing, because they were trying to play action. They couldn't really hit it with the backup quarterback. The other quarterback, they could have hit it, and it had been one we know they'd at least scored on. That Amari was able to recover from, but that's what they do. It was their offense still, and I thought our guys really did a good job of sniffing it out and playing football well.
And one of those tough games because, again, in the secondary, you're not having to cover quite as much, but all of a sudden your eyes are in the backfield. Like you said, a guy's behind you. Defensively, defensive line, you're not going to get free rushes at the quarterback or a chance to just purely pass rush. It's just one of those games coming in where it's assignment football for 4 quarters.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what it was. We knew that regardless which quarterback they were playing, that's the case with Frank and what they do. We'd worked on it all week. The kids did a good job. That's the thing about high school football, especially, week to week, you're going to see so many different things. The first 3 weeks, we'd seen pro style, probably that's more the case in 6A, ball, like, just pro style zone, inside zone, outside zone, the switch zone stuff, all that. And then all of a sudden, you go to a legitimate wing tee who also runs midline. So it's different ball, but guys did a good job of reacting to it.
And probably won't see that again, just looking ahead on the schedule until the playoffs, potentially, if you run into a team like Marist or something like that.
Right.
So for the most part, going to be similar stuff to what you guys run probably going forward the rest of the way. Westminster probably going to be 3-4 wide, a lot of time running inside zone, and then we know what to expect out of the Ware counties, the Warner Robins, and the rest of the region. So when we kind of talked about this last week defensively, where it's like, is this one of those ones where you throw the tape in the trash? What could you kind of garner from the defensive tape in this game, where again they don't have their starting quarterback in there? I think by the end their starting free safety was the quarterback in there for them. What are some of the kind of things you guys are cutting up and showing to the team from that tape last week?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different things, some positive things, we show those too. Showing what we did right and what we did wrong. I think it doesn't matter what the scheme is. You have a key. Are you reading that key and playing the game the way it's supposed to be played? Are you getting off the blocks like you're supposed to? Are you, putting your head in the right place to make the tackle? Those sort of things are what we were looking at, and we were able to, break it down and see those. And, that's what you just constantly, are we doing things the way we believe right to do it?
Right.
And you coach that no matter who you're playing, whether win, lose, whatever, that's constantly, if you focus in on that, it doesn't really matter who you play, where you play, what you play. You just go focus in on what you do well.
Another positive kind of come out of that game, no injuries from that game, which is a positive. Now 2 weeks, bye weeks to get back and then get ready for Westminster. But sticking in that game, everybody who watched the game on Friday night, I sit up there, Coach, and I talk like I know what I'm talking about when I'm watching these games. And the struggles offensively in the first half, I kind of pointed to one thing, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because you got a chance to go back and watch the huddle tape, is it just seemed like, and it's been through the first 3 weeks, the offensive line, and I know this is something Coach Fogarty would address immediately, they get to the first guy, you kind of make contact, and then maybe the feet stop, and you're not driving or potentially getting to that next guy. And it wasn't effort through the whistle from the offensive line. Just want to get your take on that, because we're watching live the same way you're watching live, and going back and watching the tape, what did you see?
I think you're right. I think some of that is youth, and we're continuously working on that and teaching them how to play nasty.
Yeah.
If you look at the second half, it was better. You saw them getting to the next level. Second and third level even, on some of the plays. And some beautiful blocks in the second half by Conaway. I know he's
celebrity
not
appearance.
line.
There we go.
Yeah, at the tight end spot.
Yeah,
he was at H back actually, and some beautiful blocks in the second and third level by him. So I tell you, beautiful blocks for the receivers downfield. Bubba got a couple of hit men for blocking a guy 20, 25 yards downfield.
Right.
So did Cron Hall. Proud of him for that. But the linemen, I think at first they were just trying to maintain their blocks, and Frank does a lot of different things at Burke County, with moving and shifting. They were slanting. They're not very big, so they were slanting, stunning,
right.
And I think it kind of froze us a little bit. And then, but in the second half, they were getting to the next level.
And you hear coaches talk about this at any level all the time, where it's you can't simulate game reps, and it's when you're blocking against your teammates, especially if you got a team like yours, 4A, you don't have 100 players out there with 40 of them who can go in at any given time. So you're not going full speed every single practice. So that, hey, during practice, it's, hey, get to the guy you're supposed to get to. All right, we're blowing the whistle. We're getting to the next play. In a game, to open up those holes, it's 5-6 seconds at a time where you're having to stay engaged. And that's something you only get with experience. Last year, 5 senior starters, they've had that experience. Now you got 5 new guys in there.
You're right. I mean, it's not – I wish, we could do more of it than what we do in practice, but we can't because we'd end up just beating ourselves to death, and it would be counterproductive. Right. So it is something you just have to really learn that level of play and physically prepare yourself during games. It's just what it is.
But if I had to imagine, that's probably one of the actual fun things to coach.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it is. That's fun to coach and be able to teach them that. And we try to do different things and control drills, controlled spurts, where we can do a little 1v1 stuff, where you can really work that. But it is something you just have to kind of play yourself into.
And again, big time win, 41-0. A couple of individual performances to talk about. We spoke about them just because it's so important to be able to run the football when you're on the road against a good opponent. Stanley Smart, I think he's really starting to embrace that just bell cow back kind of a role, where I know you want to put Bubba Frazier back there and hand him the ball and a few other guys that you're going to put back there. But I think 5 is saying, hey, leave me back there and just hand it to me 20 times.
He is. I mean, that's him. That's what he's built for. I mean, he's almost 200 pounds and a 10'6" guy.
Right.
That's what you want. Back there just pounding the rock, getting, you get the 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3, and all of a sudden you bust and you get a 60-yarder.
Right.
So, or bust off a 20, 25-yarder, So he understands that's his assignment.
I am curious about his development, because last year at this time we're talking, hey, hit the hole as hard as you can and then see what can happen. But there's kind of levels to playing that running back position where the best guys know it's scenario based, where, hey, if it's 2nd and 4 and I get my number called, this might be the opportunity for me to kind of slow roll it and find that hole and then hit it. I think guys back in the past, like John Wesley Kennedy, were really good at that. If it's 3rd and 2 and I need to get 3 yards, I'm hammering the hole as hard as I can.
Right.
But if it's 2nd and 2 and they're calling a buck sweep to me, I'm going to kind of be patient and try to make that explosive play happen.
With what he's doing, I kind of just want him hitting it wide open every time.
Right.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, the buck sweep and that, but the way he's playing that running back, that inside, we don't run zone very often.
Sure.
We do block some zone stuff, but I want him hitting that front line wide open every time and then making a cut. Wesley Kennedy was
a different dude.
You just kind of let him do what he did. So, and it was a little bit different scenarios. He's getting the ball on the edge and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
And that might be the Bubba Frazier role.
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
bit right there.
Exactly.
Speaking of Bubba Frazier, 2 touchdowns for him in the game. And again, if I saw it a couple times in the game, and maybe it was just watching tape of the first 2 games and saying, hey, they really haven't been able to make that connection. But anytime you leave him one-on-one, it's probably not going to go great for your defense.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a beautiful throw. The first touchdown was just simple. We got quads into the boundary and blocked everybody, and he just, outran them to the end zone. But the second one was a beautiful throw by Stephen. We got him 1 by 1. Stephen had to step up and made a great throw. Bubba just simply got behind the guy. He couldn't run with him.
And speaking about Steven, he comes in, has a huge game as well, touchdowns through the air and on the ground. And kind of like we talked about the offensive line in the first half, for him, it kind of felt like he was still seeing rushers from Buford in the first half a little bit where it was like, hey, you have time.
Right.
And if there was one critique through the whole game, it was you're not playing Buford anymore. You don't have to run backwards away from pressure. You can kind of slide up, and then, like you said to him at halftime, you can run too.
Yeah, well, I think it's simply he couple of times in that first half, and I heard the conversation between Fogarty and AJ. Basically, Fogarty's like, why did he even, where was he going?
Right.
Like, he had a beautiful pocket, and you kind of understand. It was running for his life.
Right.
The week before, so. We told him that. We showed him that. That's the great thing about it now. You got the iPads, and you just
can't lie anymore, man.
Yeah,
it kills me.
There's none of that, man.
Coach, they were holding me.
No, they weren't. Look at this. So we showed him that, and then of course, I told him, hey, just bring it down and run. Why can't you? Right. Why can't you take it 30, 60? He can. He's got the ability, and he did. He made that decision and did that in the second half.
And it opens up so much for your offense. And I know potentially in a non-region game, you're not going to call his number on the ground 15 times.
Right.
Where it's a game you don't necessarily have to have. And especially when you guys started pulling away, maybe, hey, we don't need him running quite as much when we're getting a bigger lead. But it opens up so much of your run game. And just think about college football this past weekend, Miami, we got Carson Beck back there now, not really a true runner. Their run game kind of got shut down in the second half because all of a sudden you're playing 11 on 10 football.
Right.
When you got Stephen Cannon there, it just opens up so much.
It definitely does, and I think it clears his head. To do that, I think when you take it down and run, and kind of clears his head, like, okay, I'm getting in a rhythm here, and so I think he needs to do it a little bit.
And again, a lot of guys having really amazing seasons so far. A couple of guys I wanted to talk about, Gavin Smith and Isaac Scott. I know we talk about LaDainian Guyton and we talk about Cam Cody. You're going to talk about the big 4- and 5-star defensive linemen.
Sure.
But those guys I feel like are college football players, and they've had a really outstanding start to the season.
They are college football players. In fact, I was talking to someone regarding Gavin this morning. Both very good players, have worked really hard in the weight room, have gotten so much stronger. It's amazing. Have worked on their conditioning so that they could play. And we they're not having the quote come out. Now we're rotating them with Jameer Lee because he's a very good player too.
Sure.
But they've gotten themselves in good shape, and they've been playing really well.
And then wrapping up kind of the Burke County game there, chance to play some of the younger guys again, which is always big just to get them those live fire snaps. Loved come in with that flex bone and just ran the same play over and over and over again because they couldn't stop it. But Stokes, man, he's a ball player.
Stokes is. He came in, and we were just going to run the basic football plays that we run, and they did a really good job. And Stokes put a 3-yard run together and kept his leg driving, made it 6-yard run for a touchdown.
Yep.
So, they're battling for those second positions, and because it's we have guys that are third that want to get to second, and so they did a good job when they came in, and I thought Stokes did a great job.
And that's one of those ones I gave him credit on the broadcast. That I think that touchdown goes to Coach Wright.
Yeah, no doubt. No, they've definitely gotten stronger. We've gotten stronger across the board. I think I mentioned it earlier in the year. We went from 14 Iron Cadets, which is a certain level of being able to bench, squat, and clean, to 37. So that's spreading it across the board right there.
On a team of about 60 to 70 players, that's a pretty good number right there. So again, big time win, 41-0 over a good Burke County team that I think probably is going to run away with their region and make a deep run in the 2A playoffs. Now a couple of bye weeks. We're going to talk about how Coach is approaching that and what the goals are over these next 2 weeks next right here on the Danny Britt Show.
Dead or alive, we want your car. No matter the condition, running smooth or barely rolling, Cash In Carry in Savannah will buy it right off the road. Visit us now, get your instant offer, and turn that ride into cash today. We buy cars, any condition.
Criminal defense, family law, DUI, and divorce. You need representation. The one to call is Savannah's own Jonathan V. Dunn, PC, attorney at law. Voted a Thomson Reuters super lawyer consecutively since 2023. Online at jvdattorney.com. BC Brothers Moving is Savannah's most trusted moving service. From residential to commercial to packing supplies, BC Brothers does it all. Let BC Brothers' energetic, trustworthy team wrap it, pack it, and move it for you. Check out BC Brothers online at bcbrothersmoving.com or give them a like on Facebook. Cool Vibes Pizza and Wings is one of Savannah's most popular. Could be the New York style pizza, or the pasta, or sandwiches, or wings. Whatever you choose, Cool Vibes has their own unique style. Check them out at 4501 Montgomery Street, Savannah.
Welcome to Sandnat Golf Carts, where luxury meets quality. We offer a wide selection of top-notch custom golf carts to suit your every need. With our extensive inventory, you're sure to find the ride of your dreams. Plus, our flexible financing options make it easier than ever to drive one off the lot today. Whether you're cruising the neighborhood or joyriding with the family, Sandnat Golf Carts is here to provide exceptional service every step of the way. Visit us today to elevate your ride.
Plan your hunting getaway and escape to experience the beauty of Mossy Pond. Our diverse property right here in Pierce County allows you to enjoy various types of hunts, including plantation-style quail, hog, pheasant, and flooded timber-style duck hunts, all within 24 hours. At the center of it all, experience scenic, rustic, beautiful, and inviting amenities like luxury lodging, our first-class pro shop, fine dining, and the perfect event space. Book now and see why Mossy Pond Lodge is Georgia's premier hunting paradise.
Welcome back into BowTie Barbecue. Christian Gokel alongside Danny Britt. And Coach, big week coming up for you guys here in a bye week. Chance to get better as a team.
No doubt. And every winning team needs a good coach, someone who can see the whole field, call the right plays, and guide you to success. That's exactly what Abel's Iron Moore & Associates does for your finances. They're fiduciaries, so their job is to look out for you. No sales pitches, no products to push, just strategy, guidance, and results. If you're ready for a financial advisor who's on your side, call 912-777-4128 or visit AIMAINC.com today.
Oh, Coach, unfortunately, you're not too unfamiliar with this upcoming scenario where you got 2 weeks off just
Right.
living in coastal Georgia. Hurricanes come through, and all of a sudden you have 2 or 3 weeks off at a time. This one, not the case with the hurricane, but just the way the schedule worked out this year. 2 bye weeks here. How are we approaching this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, but we've done it. Gosh, we did all the way back to 2014.
Right.
Because it was the way the schedule worked out. We had an early game and then 2 weeks before we could get to the next game. So we've done it numerous times. It's definitely the way to handle it, and every year is a little bit different. So what we believe, this is the way I approached it this way. We were tired. We were exhausted. Sure. We just ran a gauntlet. We just scrimmaged Camden County, went to play Colquitt County, played Buford, and then had to travel up to play Burke. So we were exhausted and tired. And fortunately, our principal had given the school Monday and Tuesday off, so we just took it. Okay. The coaches, we came back, we had to get our stats together, but other than that, we took the time and took it off. And came back yesterday and practice, and are going to practice today. However, my instructions, my desire for this week was to get healthy, period. We have weightlifting classes. We have a E-block now, which is a weightlifting block. So we are getting healthy in that, both by lifting weights and treatment, whatever that is for each individual, trying to get better. And that's yesterday and today at practice, we're doing some specific things we needed to fix, but with the understanding that I didn't want anybody to get hurt. Next week, we'll take a long weekend again and be off Monday. We'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week and get a little bit more in the weeds now. Of hopefully we're healthy and we can get, a little bit more of the weeds of getting better on the things we need to get better at. Also build back up the conditioning. And then the next week we'll be getting ready for Westminster.
And again, chance, like you said, to kind of focus on fundamentals, and you've got 3 live action games now to look at and kind of gauge where your team's at, plus the Camden County one. What are some of the things towards the top of the list that you're trying to address over the next couple of weeks?
It's a ton of little things that we're always pushing. One, you mentioned, it's not just blocking and getting to the blocks, but driving through blocks, driving through tackles, which looked a lot better against Burke. But, that was it because we had worked on it, or was it because, they weren't a bunch of Division I running backs that you were trying to tackle? So, I mean, it's a fine line there. But, that the flow of the game and from the offensive perspective and moving quick, making the calls quick, doing everything quickly, special teams. We've gotten better and better at it, but we've got to continue to get so much better. That's one thing when you play 6A teams, their special teams are really good.
Yeah.
You just have it. They have tons of – well, that's good. And what we've said is, okay, we want to get better and better at this. And when we get to our division, which we are now in our division, we should win every game in special teams.
Sure.
Because we've got to be the best in that. So, all of those things, just dialing in on very specific things. And then, of course, each individual position group has some other things, whether it's, the setting on defense and, shock, extend, throw, or, whatever it is, pass rush, pass pro, all those things. We're specifically just trying to dial in on that.
And you mentioned special teams right there. And I'd say it's probably all three units, maybe defense, not quite as much, but offensively, it's been clunky at times this year. Special teams, kind of holding your breath a few times this year. As a coach who's had teams in the past few years, that's just every single unit you put out there, it's almost like it feels like they're leaning forward. They're the attackers, the aggressors. How does it feel for you kind of watching units go out there where you have to hold your breath a little bit sometimes?
It's not fun.
Yeah.
I've done it plenty of times where and we knew this. We knew coming in, we had new long snappers. We had brand new kickers. We had to go find off the soccer field.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a good job, but we knew there was going to be some issues there. And we feel like we've got kind of that corrected and some things, but we'll have to continue to get better at it.
And again, a lot of time over these next few weeks to do that, but also a lot of times, Coach, for you guys to go back and just kind of evaluate what you saw through the first three games. We'll talk about that more next week because we got another bye week next week, so we got to save something to talk about.
Right.
But I'm curious, Coach, you wake up Saturday, you get a chance to watch some football. What was it like, just wall to wall? How many hours did Danny Britt watch on Saturday?
Miss Stephanie, who just walked up a few minutes ago, was not happy with me because I said I am going nowhere. Woke up and it was raining. That was even better.
Yes.
I was like, this is great. So I watched. I was breaking down our film and getting the stats together for that, and then just watched football until 12:30 the next day. Next morning.
Yeah.
I was just nothing but football, and we didn't go anywhere. I ordered wings from Cool Vibes.
There you go.
Lemon pepper and barbecue. They were delicious. So I ate the wings from Cool Vibes and sat there and watched college football games all day long.
And a few of your guys getting out there making plays. One of them in that Georgia Marshall game at 3:30, Connor Ferguson gets a chance to kick off and puts one about 10 yards in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, Connor came in and did a great job, and I sent a video to his mother and let her know we were watching and proud of him. And just love watching that, seeing the guys. And of course, I was definitely pulling for Gunner. Again, his dad and I are best friends, and we're college roommates. We played ball together at Georgia Southern. So Steph and I were definitely pulling for Gunner there, and we knew he'd do a good job.
And we were kind of talking about Wesley Kennedy, a guy who was a different kind of athlete, another guy who was a different kind of athlete, Zaquan. He's up there and just feels like each and every year just becoming a better football player up there. And now kind of like an all Big Ten kind of a guy up there at DB from Minnesota. He's been making plays.
He did. We watched him. That was Thursday night, right? Yeah, Thursday night. And his dad had sent me a text about what he did. I'm like, brother, Miss Stephanie and I were watching. She loves Quan, always has. He's such a nice young man and always made an effort to go, speak to her. So I promise you we were watching Quan, but he's kind of getting very little action because he's so good. Nobody wants to throw at him.
Right. I mean, if you don't talk about a DB the whole game, that's probably means they're pretty good. Just overarchingly this past weekend, seemed like defense was kind of the order of the weekend, dominating what was supposed to be some really explosive offenses. You hear Clemson LSU 17-10. You're like, is it 2002?
Yeah, I know.
What's going on? But how much of that do you think is just, hey, it's early in the season, and how much of it do you think is potentially, hey, this is transfer portal era, not a lot of continuity?
I think, one, you defense should be, although it's not always, but should be ahead a little bit than the offense. But I think it is transfer portal. I think when you're getting brand new people in, if they've been there long enough, they are comfortable in the system.
Sure.
But when you're getting brand new people in, they've only been there a few months. Yeah, I mean, it takes a while to get continuity with the offense for sure.
The last question, we'll let you get out of here. Georgia Tech gets a big win out at Colorado. That was Friday night. I don't know if you had anybody watching on the bus, but Kevin Thomas and myself were listening on the way home from Burke County. Got to make your heart happy in 2025 to see a team go on the road and rush for 360 yards.
I loved it. I love Coach Key, man. I love what he's doing. I think it's a great staff. In my opinion, nobody needs to go out of Georgia. If you want to play college ball, you got some great programs and coaches here, and so I was very excited, and I like Dion. I like his Christian message, but I like when real hard-nosed football actually meets it and beats it. That makes me happy.
Yeah, and when Haynes King starts holding that right shoulder down, people think he's hurt. I think that just means he's activated.
I saw that. I saw that means he's activated his booster or whatever.
Yeah.
I have to
Star
agree
power's
with that.
activated.
Yeah, I know. Like he gets a little hurt, and here goes, baby.
There you go. See, we got Georgia Tech in the house right there. So beautiful. It's cool to see them putting the polos back on and showing some team pride again.
Yeah,
I think
no
Brent
doubt.
Key has kind of brought that back to the flats up in Atlanta. They got a big game coming up in 2 weeks against Clemson. So a lot of fun stuff happening over with college football. A lot of fun stuff happening with BC football coming off a win against Burke. Again, another bye week next week, and then we are getting ready for Westminster. And then get ready because that region play is coming fast, and it starts with a massive one. So all that's coming up here in the future. But again, come see us next Thursday at noon for the Danny Britt Show. For Coach Britt, I'm Christian Gokel. We'll see y'all next week.
Go Cadets.